This is West Tigers Radio, broadcasting live tonight after a win for the West Tigers over the Roosters in a trial at Gosford. Eddie Otto and the boys standing by to take a look at tonight's action. Eddie.
Thanks, Joel. Welcome to West Tigers Radio / podcast 143, joined by Gary and Steve post-game after the West Tigers 16-8 victory over the Roosters on the Central Coast. Gary, I'll start with you. Just a quick one. I enjoyed that. I know it was only a trial, but we don't beat them often. And it was a pretty high-quality game in wet conditions.
Yeah, I thought the way we moved the ball around was especially pleasing in the conditions that we played under, and it was very pleasing to the way the team performed tonight.
Let's get straight into the big issues, boys. Jackson Hastings debuted for the club tonight. All eyes were on him, Steve. He got through, I think, the full 80 minutes. He was heavily involved. What did you make of his performance?
Yeah, Eddie, I think there's a lot to look forward to with the way he played tonight and the way the team played around him. You know, the first thing that was really obvious was that he took control of the team. And whilst it's hard to see from watching the TV, he seemed to be organising most of what was going on out there and definitely playing a more halfback role than a 5'8" role. He freed up Luke Brooks, I felt, and consequently, I thought Luke Brooks was stronger. But I thought Jackson Hastings did a lot for his first game for the club. The first time they've played together in a game, as a halves combination, I thought it was pretty good.
Gary, that struck me, just how busy he was, and perhaps the dominant half out there as the game wore on. I know it's only a trial, but it's hard to envisage him moving to lock halfway through the year based on the way he carried himself out there tonight.
I think he's our halfback for the season for sure. He looks to be carrying quite a bit of weight, so it looks like he might have bulked up to play a bit of lock, but I think he's our halfback. I think Brooks looked much better playing wide of the ruck, a lot more dangerous running the ball, and Hastings' ball play and the way he moved the team around the field, I think was really something different and something I didn't expect to see. I spoke last week about our style of play. Hastings coming into the side and our style of play completely did a 180 tonight.
Yeah, Steve, I mean, he doesn't look the fastest half in the world, but I think he looks fast between the ears, which is important. Like he freed up that right-hand side attack tonight. He gave some early ball and also really classy pass, that last try that he laid on.
Yeah, that last ball was brilliant and really good pivot play. The word I'd use to describe him tonight was busy. Like he was everywhere, and I don't know how many times he did it. There was 3 or 4 times at least that he's gone back and he's picked up poor passes, behind the ruck. He was there backing up a couple of times as well. Really busy performance, and a real motivating performance for others around him as well.
And for me, he's really tonight that old-fashioned style of halfback, getting in around, having plenty of goes at the opposition, not waiting for the game to come to him. He went out and attacked the game, had the ball on both sides of the field, darting in and around the big forwards, trying to beat them with footwork and ball play. It really was a little bit of a flashback to halfbacks of old for me tonight.
Yeah, well, speaking about halfbacks of old, I thought it was great the way he and Brooks were linking into the back line rather than just playing left and right. They were sweeping around and linking together, which was forming that extra man and giving that space. So that was really pleasing to see.
And I said it earlier, but how much better did Brooks's running game look playing that little bit wider of the ruck? Getting out towards the second rowers, I thought he looked much, much better in that role. And even Madden, when he came on, even though he was playing against the reserve players, he looked a million times better tonight playing outside of Hastings than he has before.
Yeah, lovely kick from Jock Madden, which set up the go-ahead try. And for me, Hastings, it was almost like death via 1,000 cots for the opposition, which is what the good halfbacks can do, is wear you down, and get a couple of tries at the end of the game. Gary, you spoke broadly on our attack last week and how disappointing it was. Considering the conditions tonight, I know the Roosters had 5 or 6 out, and we did get, for once, a wealth of penalties and 6 against from Jared Sutton, who I'm sure won't be giving us that in a proper game. But anyway, considering all that, was that an upgraded attacking performance?
Yeah, much better. One thing I was really pleased about was the offloading from the forwards. That's another way of breaking down an attack that we haven't we've got players in our squad who can offload, but we really haven't been taking advantage of that. And especially in the modern rules. In the modern rules, as soon as the tackle's kind of engaged, the defence starts to drop back straight away. So if you can get a late offload, that creates a whole heap of space. And I thought we used that really well tonight. So that second phase play, I think, going forward is going to be big for us. But we were much less structured in attack tonight, and that's what I liked seeing. And a lot of that comes back down to Hastings, the way he was probing in and around their forwards constantly all game. He really looked like that annoying halfback of old tonight.
Yeah, I think the other thing that helps with that second phase play, or allow second phase play to happen, is that momentum that we spoke about in the last pod. And tonight, from the outset, from the kickoff, really, our middle forwards were aggressive and they were fast and they were trying to dominate the ruck. And, I probably wouldn't say we dominated the ruck, if you look at the whole game, but we definitely didn't lose the ruck. It was 50-50 through that game, and that's a much improved effort. And it's one of the first times that I've seen for a long time our first grade side actually contest at the ad line for the full 80 minutes. And I think that also made a difference in allowing us to then, play a little bit of eyes-up footy.
Before I touch on some of the individual boys up front, Gary, looking at the back line from 2 to 5, I think probably fair to say Noffa and Ken Maumalo had some good and bad moments, but just focusing in on the centres, Oliver Gildart and James Roberts, there's some things to like there in attack, even if it's only glimpses at this stage.
Yeah, considering it was such a wet night and the conditions were so poor, I thought both our centres got a fair bit of ball, a fair bit of good ball and good space. A couple of times I thought I would have liked to see Roberts take off and try and use his speed a bit more to kind of just determine whether that speed is actually still there. I don't think we still got to see that. He had that one opportunity in the first half where he could have went to the outside, but he went back inside, got over the line. I think he got the ball down and it should have been a try, but it was disallowed. I would have liked to see him try to go to the outside on that occasion and create some room for his winger, just to see what sort of pace he had left. I wouldn't have cared if he got taken in the touch. It's a trial after all, but that would have been nice to see. But, yeah, I was quite pleased with both of them. And I thought they both, apart from early, Gillard defended quite well, but he got caught out on that first try quite badly and rushed in quite a long way and was out of position.
Steve, Luciano Leilua, I had grave doubts about him coming into this season, but I have to say I'm eating my words happily so far. He was extremely damaging out on that right-hand side. Yeah,
he was, and that's the second week in a row. And he played long minutes too, so fitness is there. But yeah, good offloads, really hitting the line hard. Breaking through that ad line consistently, changing direction consistently, putting the opposition in two minds. Yeah, you couldn't ask more from a back row than the way he played, especially tonight, but also last week, which is good.
I was a bit worried watching him warm up last week at Leichhardt. Gary looked to be carrying a bit more kilos. Maybe that's just perception. Maybe that's not reality. But he's creating those offloads. And every time he touched the ball tonight in combination with Hastings, he was looking to get an offload away.
The intent was really there tonight, is what I really noticed. The way he hit the line hard on every occasion. Tried to bump a couple of guys off and then turned offload or go through the line himself. I hate to say this because I was quite critical when he was turning around asking for $700,000 last year. If he plays like that for the majority of this season, we may come to rue that decision to kind of let him go, because tonight he looked like a $700,000 second rower to me.
No, well done, Lucci. I'll touch on some of the young players soon, boys, but wasn't all positive out there, Steve. I'll start with the James Tarmo incident early on. Michael Lennis, I thought, went a little bit over the top, calling for him to be sent off. He charged late at the kicker, Sam Walker, who ended up on the ground. But knowing the way they're trying to stamp out collisions on the kicker, he may miss a week, I reckon.
Yeah, I'd say miss a week for sure. I'd be surprised if he got much more than that. I'd put it in the careless category. A bloke of his experience, he probably should have pulled out. But I think it was just an unfortunate. It definitely wasn't. There was no intent in it. But just on Tarmo, like I've been giving it to Tarmo since the end of last season when he was carrying on with Penrith. But I've got to say tonight, he wasn't perfect, and he's not a young bloke anymore out there. But I thought he really tried to lead the team tonight. I watched. You saw him in the huddle before the game. He was really revving the side up, which was good. Lots of talk from him, and then he was trying to lead by example out there with his attack and defence, and that misjudgment then was all about, I reckon, the enthusiasm that he was trying to show the others, like I said last week, follow me, boys, this is the way we do it. So, yeah, he'll miss a week. It was, it was silly, but I think the intent from him was pretty good tonight.
It's also fairly hard for a guy his size to pull up quickly in that kind of position. He shouldn't have hit him, but I put it in the careless thing. I think he'll get a little bit of time off, but I wouldn't expect to be much more than a week either. I thought his attempt was pretty good as well, but there were still a couple of little concerning things for me from Tamo. That second try we scored when they first made the break, Walker made the break downfield, when Tuilagi slipped over in the defensive line, Tamu had a chance to make that extra effort to get across and kind of cover that up. And I don't think the effort was there that we really want to see, especially that early in the match, from our starting front rower, who for the last season has been our captain. I think we needed a little bit more from him in that situation, and they're the type of things that I think have let him down during his time at the club.
Steve, defensively, we brought in Nathan Kalis, our new defensive coach this year. Obviously, the two trials have been rain affected, so we're going to be careful about being too overly positive about holding the Roosters to 8 points. But after that first 20 minutes, the defence line seemed to tighten up after some worrying signs early.
Yeah, well, that's right. After the first 20 minutes is the important part of that. Before that, it was like same old. But the old Tigers would have capitulated, right? The old Tigers would have given up, and the opposition would have put 20 or 30 on us. So the fact that we actually did regroup and tighten our defence, and you're right. The weather played a large part in that, I suppose. But I would say it starts in the middle, and I bang on about this all the time. And I think our line speed in the middle, our aggression in the middle, our numbers in tackles in the middle, our contesting the ruck in the middle was much better tonight. I am still concerned about our edge defence because that showed early. I just think we don't make good decisions when something goes wrong. We don't number up. We don't sort of cover for gaps in the defensive line quick enough, and we get caught out. Like the fast teams just catch us out and find that gap and execute through that gap. So we still need to work on that, think on our feet, and make sure we're numbering up. But that's been negative. You're right. After the first 20 minutes, it was pretty solid.
Yeah, I have to agree. Our defensive structures were quite different tonight. Our line speed was a lot quicker than it has been over the past 18 months to 2 years. We're actually getting up off the line and getting in the faces of the Roosters players, especially when they're coming off their own line. I thought we were actually getting up. Our first contact was a lot heavier than it has been. We weren't actually grabbing the players and trying to hold them up in the tackle. We were actually getting up there, getting numbers in the tackle and trying to slow the play the ball down by hitting hard, getting the player onto their back, and with numbers in the tackle. So that was a lot better tonight. I am still worried about our gold line at defence. The Roosters early cut us to pieces. Our outside backs are still panicking once there's a shift on our try line. Gildart came in way too far, trying to shut down a play. Those are the things we've got to be a lot better at moving forward. I don't think we'll get away with that once the season starts proper.
Yeah, you hear a lot of people saying that defence is all about attitude. And the end of last season, many journos, people in the media, many fans were questioning the players' attitude and whether they were really having a go. One of the things that tonight has maybe not convinced me yet, because I'd like to see it for 4 or 5 weeks in a row, but that I'm going to sleep easier about tonight is our attitude. Because I thought we showed it in our defence tonight. I thought we had a real go. As I said, it was obvious from the first tackle. And if they can do that, week in, week out, we talk about what's a successful season, and we talked about a good 12th or a bad 12th, that sort of thing. Well, to me, that would be a good 12th. If I go each week and watch that team with a good attitude, trying their guts out, then I'm going to walk away reasonably happy.
The other place attitude shows up is in your scramble in defence. And there was quite a few occasions where the Roosters punched through a hole or they had us beat for numbers, and that scramble defence saved us on a number of occasions. That's where your attitude really shows up. It shows up in that adversity. Even on that second try, Ken Maumalo chasing downfield and making that tackle 10 metres out from the try line. They're things we haven't seen in the past, that scrambled defence. So I thought that was an improvement tonight as well. And that to me shows attitude as well. And Steve saying whether it be a good 12 or a bad 12, I can tell you one thing. If the side comes out and plays like that most weeks, we're not going to run last, which a lot of people are predicting we will. So that side that played tonight, a team that plays that committed and with that much heart, won't run last in this competition this year.
The middle forward, Steve, I thought Tyrone Peachey probably had a pretty forgettable night. Looked like he thought it was 32 degrees and fine rather than having his wet weather boots on because he threw 3 or 4 passes out the back. But Joel Ofahengaue, and I thought even Zane Musgrove ran with a bit more aggression tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really glad you mentioned those two because they're the two that really stood out for me. I thought Joel Ofahengaue had the best game he's had playing for us, in my opinion. I noticed early he actually played that Peachey role from last week's trial. He actually got in to first receiver, and he hasn't got the silky skills that a Peachey has, but he actually got in and played that role quite well. So even without Peachey on the field, we were still able to push our halves a little wider, which helps getting faster ball to the outside men. So Ofahengaue played that role really well. He was better in defence. He was better. Like I'd have to watch the game again to see whether he's missed many in there tight, but he seemed better in defence. And then when he did move into the middle, when Peachey came on and he moved into the middle, he played a great middle forward role and was making post contact meters consistently, and he was really involved. Often we've said he can be a bit lazy. That wasn't evident tonight. And the other one, Musgrove, again, a much better performance. I caned him a little bit this time last week, but I thought he put in a real effort and, again, ran with vigour and was showing that he can be that forward that we'd like him to be, that leader, that prop that actually scares the opposition, and when we need that. And I thought today he showed more of that than he has for a long time.
It's really funny. Joffa did a really good job in that link role tonight. I thought he played it better than Peachey did tonight. The interesting thing is last week, though, when Peachey went off, Joffa came in and Joffa went to lock. He didn't play that role at all last week. So I wonder if he was supposed to play that role last week and kind of went away from it, and he may have got a little bit of a rev up during the week because he was much different tonight, and I thought the team really benefited from. We benefit any time we have someone playing that link role, and I think he did a really good job of that tonight.
Rua Nikokora, I think it is, the young hooker anyway, Steve. He had a good game last week, and tell you what, visually again, it's just the way he plays as well. It's like a young Brandon Smith. He was again unlucky not to score a couple of times tonight. He's certainly not afraid coming into first grade.
Yeah, so I'll start with a negative, but turn it into a positive, right? So I thought he played a little bit selfishly there a couple of times. He went himself from dummy half twice. Once, absolutely, if he'd given a ball to his right, we'd have scored for sure. We had like about 3-man overlap. Okay, so that's young, youthful enthusiasm. But the positive of that is he's willing to have a go, and he trusts himself and he believes in himself. And if he sees something, he's gonna play eyes up footy. So you can't knock him for that. You wouldn't want to knock that out of him. So that was that. But generally, yeah, he does play like Brandon Smith. He looks he gives good ball from dummy half. He gives fast ball from dummy half, but can also hit the line and play that lock role as well.
Be interesting, Gary, heading into round one, because I thought Jacob Little had good moments in the first half. I nearly did it again, I know. He had some good moments, and a couple of moments where I get frustrated with him, more so in the red zone. I think he tends to lose his way sometimes, whereas maybe a I'm used to Robbie Farah being so good when you're close to the try line. But he's going for a knee scan on Monday. Let's hope it's not too bad. But that could open the door for someone like Rua or Jake Simpkin to start in round one.
Yeah, it was interesting. I thought he was pretty good for the majority of the game as well. But one of the issues that I still do have, a couple of those drop balls that we had during the first half, it was from poor service from Liddell. From Little. Now you've got me doing it, Eddie. From Little. It was a couple of times he kind of had the ball a little bit behind the forwards running onto it, and that caused a couple of our issues dropping the ball. The pass to Noffer as well that he put down, again, was slightly behind him, and causing him to drop it. So that's something he really still needs to work on. But yeah, definitely, I think there's a strong chance if Little is out come round one, that Simpkin and Rua will both play. So I don't think either of them can play 80 minutes. So I'll be looking at one of them probably being on the bench and the other starting.
Steve, no more trial games. Next week, boys will be resting up or hopefully training hard. And, it's all going to mean nothing if we come out and get beat by 40 to Melbourne Storm. But surely, as a club, as a playing group and coaching staff, they take confidence from that, which I do think is important.
Yeah, they have to take confidence from that. We said in the pod the other night, well, if they go toe-to-toe with the Roosters, that would be a successful night. And I know it was a weakened Roosters team, but it was still an effective Roosters team. It still have enough first graders in it, to be a force to reckon with. And we did play well. We scored 3 tries. We only conceded 2. So from a numbers perspective, we didn't let it blow out. Getting across the line 3 times is good. Our attacking structure looked good. Our defensive structure looked good for most of the game. So there's stuff to work on. Absolutely, there'll be stuff to work on until September, or maybe even October. But I think they will walk away fairly confident that they've had a good hit out and they're ready for round one. But yeah, you're right. It means nothing until we play the Storm.
The biggest thing I'm going to walk away happy from tonight is we actually showed something different from what we've shown the last couple of years. We showed a much different attacking structure, a much different defensive structure, and that leaves me with hope for the season. Now, I still don't think we're going to be a side that makes the 8, but we can be one of those sides on the fringe of the 8 with a chance going into the last couple of rounds if we continue and build on what we saw tonight. And that's really important because we've had flashes of good football over the last couple of years, but we haven't backed that up. We need to back that up. So we need to back that up in round 1, 2, 3, 4. If we're still playing like this in a similar fashion come round 4, despite the results, I'm going to be fairly happy with our start to the year.
Hey, boys. Well, I think West Tigers fans will sleep well tonight after that 16-8 trial win over the Roosters. We're going to be back during the week with our regular podcast on Sunday and Wednesday night, and also check out the West Tigers podcast forum. I'm sure there's plenty of discussion right now as we speak. So thanks for joining me, boys. Have a good weekend.
You too, Eddie.
Thanks, Eddie.